Hi everyone, this video is going to go along with the poll example document that I put on Lumen. So what I'm going to do is go through the Marist poll website and the Gallup poll website just so you can see what it looks like to look at some of these polls and which is what you'll do in the project, and then where you can kind of go for the information you need to answer all the questions. So first things first, let's just look at the Marist poll website. So on the example that I gave, the first example on that document, I linked to this poll, which was about interest in baseball, and this was from 2018. But Marist has many different polls you can look at. It seems maybe a year or two ago like they switched to doing mostly just political polls, and so that's perfectly fine if that's what you're interested in. You can go and click this politics button here, and then you can just click on all of these different polls. The ones that say by Marist poll you can check out. This one might be interesting. You're thinking about Thanksgiving amid COVID-19. You can see what kind of things were asked. So you click on it, and you can see that they have a summary that you can read, which is interesting. They also give you just the raw information about how they broke down the group of people they talked to, which is interesting. Then there's a methods button, which is really important if you're going to use the Marist poll, that talks about their methods, and you can kind of check out all the really important pieces of information that you're going to need in terms of how this was done. Okay, so we're going to use all of this. So for the baseball one, it's a similar setup, although this is older, so all those same links are now down here. So you just kind of click around on things. And so you can do that. For this, you can basically, what I'm asking you to do, and I did this in the document, is I'm asking you to identify the sample that they used, identify the population, who they're talking about. So we can click all of these different buttons. So I'll click this first one, the methodology. And right away I'll see there was a survey of 1,050 adults. Boom, I've answered what my sample size was. Okay, who did we talk to? Adults 18 years of age and older residing in the contiguous United States. Boom, I've just got my population. This is who I'm interested in talking about. I want to learn about this group, the adults 18 years or older in the U.S. Perfect. Then it goes on to talk about how the sample was collected, which is interesting and will help for other parts. For example, they say they contacted people on landline or mobile phone numbers, interviewed in English, which is something you might want to be thinking about for the last question, number 5 on the sheet. And then they talk about how they were selected. So randomly selected, we talked about that. That's good. We want random selection. There's a bunch more information you can read here, but it kind of gets into the weeds a little bit, so don't worry too much about this. But then on the back end, it talks about something else we need. We end up seeing results are statistically significant within 3.8 percentage points. That's the margin of error right there, which I ask for. So the margin of error they talk about here as well. And so basically you've got everything you need here and in here. And so what you want to do, in the document, I picked out multiple of these different statistics that were given. So there's many proportions on this page, and I picked out a couple of them specifically I was interested in. So specifically what I had picked out was 44% of U.S. residents being baseball fans. So I thought that was interesting. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Then also this one was interesting. I wrote this one down, right? 51% of people age 45 and older said they like baseball compared to only 37% for people under 45. Also interesting, kind of a cool statistic to be thinking about. And so you're just trying to put all of this together, and so you can follow along the document and see how I answered things as well. But it's all just using this and then these interesting pieces of information down here you can click on. So that's the Marist poll. It looks very similar for all of them, except now they've done this thing where they've made these giant buttons instead of the links here. So instead of these links that we needed, they've made them into giant buttons that you can click and it'll open something up. So you just find something on the Marist poll if you want to use this one, this website that looks interesting to you. In the second example, I used the Gallup poll website, or the Gallup.com, and I was looking because I thought it was interesting at the American readiness to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And according to their information, when this was done, this poll was done in mid-September, we were down to 50% in terms of people who were saying that they would get the vaccine at no cost. And so I thought that was really interesting, a great statistic to use. Again, we can scroll down and we can find the survey methods. Look, we've got a sample size, we've got who we're talking to and who we're trying to learn about. We've got a margin of error down here we need to use. Lots of different good information that we can use to answer the questions, and then just kind of interesting stuff here. Another one I found, which was just from the front page of the Gallup website, was after this, it seemed like they took this information and said, okay, the willingness to get the vaccines dropping, what can we do? And so they ran an experiment to try to understand, and you don't have to go through this and understand exactly what's happening necessarily, but you could just look at the findings. So they went and did an experiment, and basically what they did was they got a bunch of people in their sample and they broke them up into groups and asked them, okay, here are the different situations. How likely are you to get the vaccine? And here's something interesting. Look at these two, the first one and the third one. It says this first one, if the vaccine is released next year with high efficacy and no side effects. So the high efficacy coming from the FDA. Basically saying we think it works really well and you've got no side effects. 51.8% of people said, all right, we'll get it. Look here, released this year with high efficacy and no side effects. Look at this drop. 5 percentage point drop just between getting it this year and next year. So if you were a company or the government saying, okay, how do we roll this out so that the most people will say, okay, I'll get it. Your best bet would, even if you had it ready now, to be to postpone until next year to actually start giving it out so that more people would take it. How interesting is that? What a crazy thing to find in here. And you can think through what the reasons are for that, but it's just still very interesting to see these numbers and think about what they mean. Right? So interesting stuff. You can dive in. Tons of good stuff on the Gallup website if you want to use that website, or if you want to use a different one, by all means. So check out the document that I've posted and the answers I put down for things. You're going to find for some of the questions you might answer a little differently. That's totally fine. There are certain things like the sample size that are going to be the same regardless. The margin of error is going to be the same. But what statistic you want to pick out, that's up to you. There's many that are given in here. So many statistics are given in here. So, you can pick any of these you want. Whatever you want to talk about is fine. And you may find reasons for possible sampling error or bias or question bias that I didn't see. And that's totally great. That's fine. Use your resources to see what issues you might think of. See what I said for the examples I did to think about what issues there could be, and then just write a few down. All right, and if you have any questions, let me know.